Wow, it was a really great warm-up. And while listening to Ziv's presentation, I was thinking, oh, we should have a soundtrack for all our talks disregarding the topic. It was really amazing. Security time now. I'm Michael. I've been doing security for the 25 years, and I have worn so many hats that I really don't know what to tell about myself. But the topic today and what we're going to discuss is a bit more philosophical on one side and extremely practical on another side. And we start with the question how we make our systems secure and what does it practically mean. So we've seen how AI transforms everything in our lives, and the security part is also not an exception. And you can, for example, find a lot of bugs in the security bugs in the software just by running an AI tool. You can write the code using AI, and everything becomes so simple, so interesting, and so exciting. And it is just happening right now. But the question that I started asking to myself and what my peers and colleagues and clients started asking me, what happens with security over time? What happens tomorrow? And we can see that some people say, our software is secure. But what does it practically mean? Is it secure now? Or is it the most recent release that you have had? Or it is the next version? Or it is your expectation? Is it something that you make as a claim to your clients, or something that you feel, or is it the actual state of your product? And these questions arise all the time, and if you look at any software product that you develop, sometimes you don't even meet the word security there. You can just find it, in some materials, maybe in some reviews, but generally security is a kind of a trust claim that we make to our customers, to our clients, to our users, and ask them to believe in. And the question is, how do we support this trust claim? What do we say is one thing, and how do we prove it is a bit different? And this is what I'm going to discuss today. So when we say software is secure, some people will say, that's fine, and we don't need to do anything. Our code is really good, and this is one response that some of them say. And you will never mention it. You will say, oh, OK, it's just a quality assurance. It's just how we write the code, and it's secure by default. This is the most common thing, and it breaks through the easiness of how AI or any recent security tools can find the vulnerabilities, how they put at risk lots of systems. And this answer seems to be not very satisfactory nowadays. So if you say, oh, our security is good, probably there is a bell that was already ringing, and this alarm is higher and higher for all the time. Some of you may say, oh, we use different tools to check security of our code. We use statical code analysis. We use dynamical code analysis, penetration testing, threat modeling, a lot of things. And if we ask ourselves why do so, the answer will be just because it's the best practice. It's something that is common to the industry, that the others are doing. This is what I learned from the university. This is what I've read on Reddit or Stack Overflow, anywhere. So this is the practice that we probably feel that is relevant, but we can't explain why it is relevant. And this is also not a good explanation because it is not measurable, and it is very hard to evaluate if there is a justified cost or justified time investment into any kind of the security activity. And if you talk to developers, they will say, we don't want to do threat modeling. It's boring. We don't understand the value. We don't want to run extra tools and handle multiple merge requests that come to the code. So this is not very inspiring, but the standard workflows in many companies, they are still used to that. And then we start asking what we can do next, or what we can do instead of that. And the answer is in a very, very boring phrase, which calls use a systematic approach. And there are multiple ways to say what is systematic approach, but the most common is to look at the community knowledge to something that has been created for exactly for this purpose, that helps us to measure and maintain security maturity of our product over time. So this is not one-time effort. It's not a scanner. It's not a tool that we run. It's not a state of security yesterday or tomorrow or today, but it is something that we work constantly on, and this is something how we describe and explain to everyone when they ask about how we do security. So the systematic approach to security maturity can be quite different, but there are two leaders in the area. One is called BSIMM. It's a commercial model developed by Synopsys for most, I think, for 15 years already. And the second is OWASP SAMM, the open source software assurance maturity model. Someone mentioned earlier today about OWASP community. It's a non-profit organization that works with the open source code and introduces different practices. I think the speaker before me mentioned about this in relation to the AI security practices, and they cover many other things as well. And the core difference between these two frameworks is some prescriptive is how you do it, how you should specifically do software assurance and security maturity lifecycle. And BSIMM is just a tool that a benchmark that helps you to compare how you do products or application security compared to many other companies. And of course, we love open source because it is free. It is very easy to, let's say, to read and understand where all the materials come from. That's why we will focus on the OWASP SAMM and see what is possible to do within this model. This is how OWASP SAMM version 2, the most recent one, looks like. And if you look at 5 domains: governance, design, implementation, verification, and operations, they describe all possible types of activities that happen in your team, in your organization, when we develop the code. Some of them sound a bit boring and corporate, but this is the language that the authors of the model have intentionally chosen, and there is nothing we can do with this, but the combination or the composition of all these items here is quite well thought, and we'll go a bit deeper in the details to see how it works. From this list, you can see that generally most of the important areas or the key topics of the software development process are covered here, and it is nothing really left here that is not relevant or that is important otherwise. Some is about asking people in your team and filling in questionnaires. There is a QR code to the official tooling, the questionnaires that are used for the interviews or self-assessment, and you can start with them, but the whole idea of making this talk more specific and more practically usable for you was to see if it is possible to adapt some for an organization that is big enough and where people are not that interested in security and they are not up to filling really long questionnaires. And if you look at the questionnaire, for example, it's quite big. It has around 100 of questions with different sub-questions or the answers. And this is a real-life example. And sometimes you even don't have a kind of binary answers, yes or no. So you have to invent. And even if you are given some hints, it is not easy to answer all these questions. So the setup I'm going to tell you is a technology company with 20 different teams that are developing very different products, both web and mobile. And all teams, for historical reasons, use different programming languages, different stacks, and they have different types of the customers, both corporate and end users. So it's really like a zoo, it's a mix of everything. And although they have a dedicated security team, the culture with the company, with different acquisitions and mergers, is also different, and it is not possible just to give a questionnaire, one question, so just fill it in. And what I'm going to tell you is how we approach this and how you can try and adapt this approach in your companies, in your teams, and see what kind of benefits you can extract from this toolkit and from the tool set in general. So our goal was to measure the security maturity of all teams and all products, and to be able to trigger the internal competition between the teams, and to see what exactly can we improve over time, and what kind of measures can be taken specifically to make each product better and make the teams feel that they are involved in the security process. So we tried several approaches to that, and as I said, we just gave a questionnaire to the teams, and they were not very excited because, as you have seen, the language seems a bit heavy and corporate. Some topics were not relevant to the guys that we approached with them, and in general, they felt, oh, we don't feel any bigger value of that because we don't see the end result of this questionnaire and the product itself. And we also were not able to measure the answers across the different teams because the questionnaire, as it is written in the toolkit, it applies to the whole company or the whole organization. And we had to make some split and carve out the relevant items per team. So what did we do was we just split the questionnaire and decided to assign different parts of it to different teams. And in the places where it was repeating for each team, we made a separate questionnaire for each part. So the joint part was filled in by us, like security team or consultants, and the relevant parts were filled in by the teams. So it reduced the questionnaire size, and it made us feel that we should make a formal improvement, and then we rewrote literally some of the questions, and we made interviews with the teams, and we just made them in the form of discussion, not asking them specifically, do you have a, let's say, security check for the code before you deploy to production, but we had a very informal conversation on the topic and filled in these questionnaires together. And it was kind of engaging because the teams were able to recap and to discuss the current process and see what was working or what was not working in the process as we went through it. Technical teams are often viewed as people who are doing security in the product development, but product owners, everyone who works with the customers with features are equally important, and we brought them to the stage, we brought them into the conversation and asked them to review and answer some of the questions. So the engagement level was much higher because they felt the value when they had to explain how security of their product works in front of the customers. So they were more aware of how the teams in the backend works with the code and how they ship features. So it was the way to improve and to make some kind of additional awareness for them. And it also brought some kind of a relevance to the team and to those who answer the whole questionnaire. Then, if you look at the toolkit, you will see that it has several scoring and matrix-based calculation. And the whole scoring is calculated per whole spreadsheet. So we had to adapt it to make individual scoring per teams, and we could measure and compare the progress of the teams over time. As of now, we have performed these assessments for almost 7 years in a row, and we have a really good progress measurements for all the teams over time, and we see how specific vulnerability ratings and scoring from other inputs that we had, they match the security maturity, and we were able to predict how much work on security will be needed for these teams in the next years. From the team management perspective, it gives some kind of an overview how the work and how the effort should be spent. And if you plan the product roadmap for the year or even 2, it helps to get much more accurate and predictable results, measure the work, charge the client accordingly, and implement security to the really precise, I wouldn't say precise, but a really accurate level of the requirements and how much is needed for the team. Bringing annual comparison drove to some competition, and the teams were kind of competing and sharing the practices to get some internal bonuses or recognition for security effort. And it was kind of interesting to see how the teams share the experience, compete, and work together, which was a good in-team trigger for working together or cross-sharing the knowledge. And if you look at the example, how it looked like, some of the scores for the overall company score, and this is taken from 5 years ago when we were on the very, very basic level of maturity, and this is how the actual measurement from the annual cycle could look like. After running this program and measuring security maturity for, as I said, more than 7 years, we felt that we triggered the following key things. So first, it's a security awareness. So people understand what they actually do for security, and it's not just extra pile of work, but it's a meaningful work that can be justified both from the technical and business perspective. It also helped to increase the product value because we were able to communicate it to our partners and customers and users, saying that this is how we measure security, this is our progress, and we could explain any kind of additional effort needed for that. And in total, we could see the maturity level, and we could think that this is how we do security now, and this is our baseline, this is our maturity level, and disregarding any security vulnerabilities, any new security tools, or risks and threats that may arise, we still maintain the level that helps us to keep the same trust claim and say our software is secure. Some final notes on that. SAMM is only one of the approaches. It has, one of the benefits is that it has a comprehensive overview of how the security model looks like, but it can be extended and expanded as much as needed. So some companies build more complicated things on top of that. At the same point of time, it is not required to implement or consider all the requirements. You can take only those that are needed from your for your organization from the whole matrix, but please think about the security risk or business risks that may arise. And as I said, it was extremely useful for the long and mid-term planning because it helps to give some certainty and give some kind of a predictable work ahead, especially if we have tight deadlines and delivery cycle. That's all from me. Thank you.